free. And today's lesson in the prayer actually has the word slave in it. And by the way, it's lesson 204, if you'd like to look at it with us. It says, God's name reminds me that I am his son, not slave to time, unbound by laws which rule the world of sick illusions, free in God, forever and forever one with him. We're so magnificent, we cannot be held back. And
the light's so bright, I gotta wear shades.
I like that. Yeah. I'm going to keep that one, Michael.
Yeah. Remember when he said, here's the whole message, I love you, come home.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Michael said that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Quoting God. Yeah.
But really, we're giving tools, little ideas, little concepts like that that'll snap us back to the present.
Right.
And when it says, I'm not unbound by time, that's a very unique emphasis in the spiritual traditions, because a lot of spiritual traditions are, well, I got to work off my karma, and I got to work all that off. And the Course is saying that may be true with your journey through time, but you can be free right now.
Yeah, I don't even, the Course does not support the idea of karma.
No.
It does not. In fact, it's saying you are free right now. Nothing you've ever done in this life, or if you want to bring up the past life, you are not bound by it.
Not bound by
at
time.
all.
So the next one was,
and by the laws
which rule the world of sick illusions.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the world of sick illusions that we've been talking about through this set of lessons? And the one lesson that really spoke to that was, it can be but myself I crucify. And in that lesson, it was saying that you believe you can see others as guilty and make yourself innocent by giving them their guilt. And as long as you think you can do that,
it looks like other people are crucifying
it looks
you.
like other people are hurting you. As long as you think I can project my conflict that's only here out on them, then we live in a world where it seems like that can happen to us.
So that comes back to my emphasis lately. We are always going through different processes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Different parts of our undoing. And lately I've been really working with 100% responsibility.
Yeah.
Like really pulling back that projection.
Yeah.
And just recognizing nobody's hurting me but me. And I can change that by changing my thoughts.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what this is saying too.
So with a practical example of that, I'm not bound by the laws which rule the world of sick illusions, isn't he saying that from the standpoint of the ego, we enslave ourselves to each other? Like, you do this for me, and then I'll do this for you, and then back and forth, and it never comes out equal.
Right.
It's like one either feels I gave more and you gave less, or
such a victim I am. Yeah.
Exactly. And at that moment, we can say, love doesn't barter, and love doesn't wait to heal me, and I can free myself of the belief that you're responsible for my mindset. Because as long as I think you got something I can get from you, whether it be pleasure or money or whatever,
there's a separation.
Yeah. I'm different than you.
Yeah.
And then that's how we'll see reality. That's how we'll see God.
That's how we see God.
So,
here's another thing about time, how we're free from time. And that's the idea that God will take care of this situation in his good time. Mm-hmm. Like God will heal me or my friend in God's good time. We don't understand God's timing. That is not supported by the Course.
Not at all. And it's not a mystery, it's said. That's always the answer. It's a mystery why everything's so bad. It's a mystery. It's not a mystery if we can see there's my reaction to the situation, there's the situation. Yeah. So being unbound by the laws which rule the world of six illusions, free in God forever. So that's what it's saying in the first paragraph of this practice.
Of the review.
It says...
So the review is on page 386.
Yeah. So that last sentence in that first paragraph says, This will be enough to give release to you, not just you, to you and the world, and invite the memory of God to come back. That's how big these lessons are claiming to be.
And it also says that one lesson practiced completely, totally understood and internalized, includes the whole.
That's it.
And we're at the end of the teaching part of the workbook. So that is like the summary. These 20 lessons.
Now, wait a minute. What do you mean by the teaching?
I don't look at part 2 as teaching.
Okay, receiving?
Yeah, they're more like sitting in the quiet of the truth of it.
Yeah,
Whereas
that's true.
these have got as much teaching in them as the text does.
So again, is that why it says the first part is about undoing, and the second part is about receiving this new perception?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's one way of looking at it.
Yeah.
I mean, we're still learning. Every time we go into prayer,
Yeah.
there's a cleaning out of the mind. There's a more light.
Right.
That's learning.
Yeah.
That's all learning is sweeping out the dirt.
So your point was, so we're going through this review and we're coming to the end of part 2. So we're coming to this point.
End of part 1.
End of part 1. So we're coming to this point when we can just let go of these rules
Yeah.
that seem to bind the world of sick illusions.
Yeah.
These rules of time. Like my meditation teacher, he's from India, and he used to say, time, it's such a botheration. I thought, what? But that's exactly what he meant. Why shouldn't I be free right now?
Yeah. I had an interesting experience yesterday.
Tell me.
Well, I've been talking about how I'm not exactly adept at silent meditation.
Yeah.
It's just not been my thing. I am more active, so like I journal. I journal like to get the crap out, just write it, whatever it says. There's dust bunnies under the bed, keep on writing.
Right.
But yesterday I went up to the screen house. We have this little screen house now to keep mosquitoes away and keep ourselves cool and comfortable.
Yeah.
And I just went up there without a book, without a journal, without music, nothing. And I spent about 2.5 hours just in quiet prayer and communion. That was really a first for me.
Wow.
To be that long in a quiet, peaceful, open-minded, open-hearted, tell me what to do here.
So
Give me your blessing, Father, Jesus.
So it was a conversation you were starting.
There was some conversation because I had an issue that I really needed guidance on.
Right.
Yeah.
So you spent the time to make a connection with this laws of love inside. With the real laws that operate in our minds.
So the way it kind of looked and felt was just being present with Jesus and having my issues and my confusion and everything else on the table and just saying, help me, show me, but being quiet. Didn't have to be busy. The time went by and it was just beautiful.
That is so cool.
What's really great about it is it shows me, after all these years, I still have a lot to learn.
Well, yeah, we do.
Yeah.
But we're learning gently. That's the difference.
It gets better and better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, that was, the whole idea of just undoing these laws that seem to be so strict. Like you said, the ego's laws are strict and breaches are severely punished. Like, no way. Like, I'm not, that I'm at home, fear is a stranger. He said that fear comes up in the mind and says, I'm here to rob you of all the love you've ever experienced. And we're going, okay. Oh yeah, just take whatever you want. I mean, this is what we do. But we can laugh at it.
Yeah. He's telling us we can laugh at pain. I mean, that is shocking.
Yeah.
We're so far outside the laws that rule the world of sick illusions when we recognize that we're spirit. Not only we're spirit, everybody is spirit.
Yeah.
That's all they are.
And we recognize in that, though, that kindness would not say to somebody who's really in pain or they're not even close to these kinds of ideas, we don't just say, oh, forget about it, it's an illusion.
Or worse yet, what did you do to bring that on yourself? What did you do to attract that? No, that's not our business. That is, that's like Jesus said, not in this book, but in his other book. He says, take the log out of your own eye before you try to take the splinter out of somebody else's.
Yeah. That was that section we read the other day, towards the end of the text, where it said you choose either spirit or flesh.
Yeah.
As the laws that will, and you can, if you choose spirit, your only relationship to flesh. In other words, you can choose spirit instead of identifying with the body. But if you identify with spirit, you can literally transcend all the laws of physicality in the body.
Yes.
Including the one I had difficulty with the other day, big time, was the thought of you dying.
Yeah.
That just, we were thinking about the future, and you mentioned, well, it's like maybe it'll be this amount of years, and it just struck me all of a sudden, like, wow, this body is not going to be here forever.
Yeah.
And I was really sad to get that, and I know that, from a mystical standpoint, that we're going to transcend that, of course, but just to be very human in that situation felt important to me.
It is important
to embrace the grief, embrace that, and not minimize it, because one of the big points in these lessons was, it was like, I'll be still an instant and go home. It says there's a part of your mind that's mourning the loss of love in heaven, and it's always there.
Yeah.
And you're not listening to that voice of mourning heaven, it's mourning losses on this level.
We're hiding the fact that we miss God.
Right, and we put it in, I miss the money, or I miss this relation, or I miss that. But he's saying there's this deep longing in you that's saying, this little child is saying, could you help me go back home for just a little bit?
Yeah.
Like all power of heaven comes as a little child and says, help me. And I think that's the way the Course is set up, is that everything's done and there. It's like the daily bread has been cooked. It's already been cooked and prepared, but we have to take it up.
Yeah.
We have to take up that daily bread. It's already there. And realize it's not a struggle to take up the answer. It's just acceptance.
Right.
And I think that's what you were saying earlier. It's like it's not the undoing, it's just I'm at peace and I'm open to a new way to look at this.
And it has to come from another dimension.
Yeah.
Because my way of thinking, based on my past, what other people say and think, those are all laws of the world stuff.
Yeah.
And it all comes down to forgiveness. Forgiveness is transcending the law of the world.
Right.
Because it's like, if I were to punch you in the gut and now you hate me, that is the laws of the world that are saying, my body is me and you hurt me.
Right.
Whereas, now I'm not going to do this, but if I were to punch you and you were to go to the laws of God, you'd go like, oh, that was an interesting sensation. I'm going to stay in love here.
Yeah. That's the plan.
And you probably wouldn't want to be around me anymore, right? I mean, it doesn't mean you're going to sit here and let me punch you over and over.
Right. Yeah. So that's a very sophisticated, framework, or what do they call it? A sort of mood to approach it is You know, in truth, there's these laws of love. They're the only, I'm under no laws but God's. The laws
Yeah.
of love, that's the only thing that's happening. I'm in this process of discovering that. But
Right.
once I do, and I get that peace, then I can hear from the Holy Spirit. Like this, one of the last things in this review, one of the last points is that if you practice in this way with these lessons, then you, what Jesus is saying is, I'm offering you to the Holy Spirit, and he's saying, I place you in the Holy Spirit's hands, and let him teach you what to do, say, and think each time you turn to him for help.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the conclusion of this. If you do these lessons,
Yeah.
then I've stopped the ego's laws, I've stopped the sense of being bound by the world, and now I'm open to love's voice.
And you can hear love no matter what is going on.
Right.
That's the opposite. I mean, that's the other side of the coin from it can be but myself I crucify.
Right.
It's I don't have to crucify myself.
Right. And we don't, you know, I've always said that the downside of familial relations is that, you know, you need to be loyal to the family system, right? That when you have a dysfunctional
Yeah.
relationship, it's always saying you need to be devoted to this dysfunctional relationship. And it's at that point we can say, you know what? This is not helpful to me, and it's not helpful to you, and I'm not going to continue in this relationship because it's not helping.
A lot of us have a lot of people that we know, a lot of friends, have had that kind of situation, and there's no law, unbound by laws that rule the world of sick illusions. There's no law that says you have to be kind and be close to a person who continually hurts you.
Yeah.
And Michael mentions that a lot.
It's really important.
Yeah. Once we recognize that we have desired to be hurt, and that's why we experienced it that way, we can say, no, I don't want that anymore. And if that means walking away, okay, but we do it in love and peace,
Right.
meaning there's no, you did that to me.
Right.
That's just projection.
This is not helpful. That's all you're saying.
It's not helpful.
Yeah. This
That's
is not
right.
helpful. It's not healing.
Right.
You may not see it, but I'm seeing it now, and I'm going to demonstrate some leadership. I know for sure, especially a family of origin, and mine was, let's just say, wasn't the best. You know, it's like this loyalty to dysfunction is
Yeah.
what we continually, you know, it's like, it's justice that you stay here with me kind of ideas. And I can definitely see, I spent years in relationships that had I left them long ago,
Yeah.
been farther down the road.
Yeah, because we keep on repeating that.
Yeah.
You know, we keep on repeating the pain, and the Course is telling us that we are actually asking for it. We actually want it because it's familiar.
Now
We want those kinds of situations, those kinds of emotional, it's a sense of ourself, you
Right.
know, that's like, well, that's who we think we are. We think we're victims, or we feel rejected, or whatever it is. And we want to feel that way because it's comfortable and familiar.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this conversation is useful to anybody who's listening here. I actually had a very functional family. It's not that it was perfect, but it was really a wonderful family, and I never even knew about this until, you know, I started going into spiritual work, and I hear, oh my gosh, so many people are suffering as a result of what they learned as children and came to feel is who I am.
Mm-hmm.
Who I am, so I have to keep that going. That's my identity. My identity is, you know, I'm whatever
Right.
the label is.
Well, and that was the point in I'll be still an instant and go home. It said this loss that you're mourning, it seems to be a loss on this level, but it's really the loss of the truth of who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the part. So even if it's functional on this level, unless it's coming from that higher level, it's not going to be that much different.
Uh-huh.
And I think it's important, this idea of responsibility for sight.
Yeah.
That's the beginning of sanity, it says. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
Beginning of sanity,
So,
I am responsible for what I see.
You want to hold the book up so you
Well,
can...
I don't need to read the whole thing, but I'm just saying that becomes the first step, is I'm responsible.
Yeah,
but,
so read that whole 4
all right.
lines.
Okay, so this is from chapter 21. This is the only thing you need to do for vision, happiness, release from pain, and the complete escape from sin. Hallelujah. All to be given you. Say only this, but mean it with no reservations, for here the power of salvation lies. I am responsible for what I see.
I choose the feelings I experience, and I decide upon the goal I would achieve. Go ahead, you read the next line.
And everything that seems to happen to me, I ask for and receive as I have asked. Okay, well, deceive yourself no longer that you're helpless in the face of what is being done to you. So here's the thing, though, that's important to make the next step here. Because if it's just left there, it's going to bum you out. Because then you're even going to feel more guilty. Oh my God, now I'm responsible for everything.
It's my fault.
But then what it's saying is you're just confused about what happiness and misery is. Because one of the major constructs in that miracles are seen in the light is you think your pain is paying a debt for leaving God and love.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, stop that thinking right now. There's no debt to pay. There's just happiness.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, happy for no reason.
Yeah.
It's not a condition.
Right.
It's not conditional on anything. I'm happy. I'm free. My mind is quiet. And I'm ready to receive whatever form of love in my doing, saying, and thinking now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So not to beat yourself up because, oh my God, I manifested misery again.
No.
I was just confused.
That's it.
I thought misery was happiness.
Yeah, right.
See how I'm suffering for you, God? Aren't I a better little baby boy?
Or like, do that one thing you do about the screwdriver in the ear.
Well, I'm from Minnesota, and we have a lot of cold weather up there, and we have a kind of a folk belief about the value of suffering and purification. So Saturday Night Live had a bit, and who's the senator who was just he's kicked out for the Me Too? What was his name? You bought his book. The senator from Minnesota.
Oh, Al Franken.
Yeah. So he was the comedy writer at the time. And I'm so from Minnesota, I didn't get the joke. But he was saying these two guys are sitting there and they're going, you know what I hate? I hate it when I take a screwdriver and just shove it in my ear. And the other guy goes, yeah, I know what you mean. I hate, when I take that hammer and beat I hate it when I do that. I mean, it's trying to get us to laugh at ourselves.
Right. But being from Minnesota, you didn't even
I didn't know it was a joke. It was the same thing with the movie Fargo. I didn't know it was a black comedy until nearly the end. But that's my training. That's my background.
Well, you can really talk about crucifying yourself.
Yeah. All right, freedom from slavery.
There we go. Yeah, so the name of God is my inheritance. And when I was first studying this, I had a problem. It's like inheritance. You don't get your inheritance till your parent dies.
Yeah.
But then somebody explained it's more like your DNA inheritance.
Yeah.
They don't have to die. They don't lose a thing. In fact, they quite enjoyed giving you that DNA. So, the name of God is my inheritance means we're in the family of God, which is extremely functional. It's full of love and abundance and joy. And he's trying to tell us, look, you belong to me. You're part of me. You are my delight. And so there's nothing you need to suffer for. Stop playing those childish games. Remember how he says so many times about the toys of sin, which means the toys of lack, sickness, all kinds of suffering.
Pain, suffering.
All kinds of suffering. There's toys we play with.
So the thing you just said was this idea that in the Course is trying to develop of our self-concept. Like, we're the greatest achievement of God.
Yeah.
We're God's greatest achievement because guess what? We're God's extension.
Yeah, that's right.
So he's thrilled with us. She's thrilled with us.
Yes.
Why would your parent be nothing but thrilled?
Yes.
I mean, in truth, not
Not the one that some of us had. Yeah, right.
Right. I know it. So that's a pretty good deal. He's saying here that if you really follow through on any one of these lessons, it'll bring you all the way home. And it, this idea that it'll give release to yourself and to the world and bring the memory of God back, the memory of love. And what you were talking about yesterday, just sitting up there and just working with the material, working with your relationship, and feeling the communion of that conversation.
Yeah.
Feeling that love surround you all the time. Like there's nothing but that love. That takes effort.
Well, for me, it takes like letting go.
Yeah.
Letting go. It's almost like, when you're running, and you try to stop. It's almost like your brain wants to keep your legs moving.
Yeah.
It's like that's kind of how it is for me. Or the train puts its brakes on, but it keeps on going for a while. For me, it's been a long process of learning to be okay with quiet.
I know.
Okay with a quiet mind.
But again, you're very much a karma and bhakti yoga. You're meditating as you work.
Yeah.
I mean, that was my background is in non-dualism and the Vedanta, the East, and some big changes came because it used to be that performing action was what are the four fruits? Liberation, kama, artha, dharma, moksha. Kama, fulfillment of desire, artha is resources, right living, and then liberation. And
these are like stages of life.
Well, they're meant to be the framework of life.
Okay.
Like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I completely forgot my point. What was I just talking about?
I don't know, but you must have had CRS. You had a little bout of CRS.
that
Can't
really...
remember shit.
I don't know.
So you were talking about the different stages of life. That's the ones you just talked about. But then there's the four yogas too.
Oh, I know what it was. Yeah, so in that system, it was karma is a big deal in that one. Like you have to work out your karma. And what you were just talking about is that there's this energy to this that's still going on. And what they used to call that was prabodha karma. So by prabodha karma, it means you shoot an arrow, you let go of the arrow, and then you go, nope, that's not what I wanted. But the arrow's still got energy. And that's important to get in your mind because the stuff's going to keep coming up.
Yeah.
The ego's not going to go away. It's not going to go laying down. It's not going to go quietly.
Right.
And it keeps coming up because there's that sort of energy to that thought system that still seems to be there.
And it's a really good point that you identify that as the energy of the thought system.
Yeah.
It's not the kind of karma that is like, when I was, living in St. Louis, I did this thing, and now I'm getting my payback.
Right.
It's not that at all. That's the kind of karma that the Course is saying is totally canceled when we allow it to be canceled.
That's interesting because when he said that, you turn to him, he'll not fail to be available, but he'll tell you what to do, say, and think. But that's kind of reversed because the thought comes first.
Yeah, unless we ask him. Even if we actually give our minds to him.
Yeah.
And I use Jesus because, he he had a body and a brain and a life that was about walking around and eating and,
Yeah.
So he's more accessible to me.
Absolutely.
I really feel like on a very daily basis, I give this life, this body, this physical energy, and my thoughts, and say, take over, Jesus. You do this body. You do this life. What have I got to lose? God's will for me is perfect happiness, and Jesus knows a whole lot better how to do that than I do.
Well, that's what he said in chapter 4. If you want, I will replace in your mind the ego body concept. Because he's saying that's just a concept. However much it seems so hard, like this is reality, this is a concept we're coming from.
Yeah.
And he said, you can use me as the model.
Right.
To replace, so that's kind of, like we've said before, you're bringing Jesus into my life, and I'm offering you Holy Mother.
Holy Mother.
Sri Sharadevi, she was wife of Ramakrishna. They were both non-dualists. They were married. They lived on a spiritual level. They never had a physical relationship like normal marriages are. But she was as powerful as he was. In fact, Ramakrishna used to tell the story, and I know he told it for all the husbands of the world. So, they had arranged marriages there, and so at 5 years old, she was married to him when he was 22. So she's
a little kid.
She's a little kid then, but then she grew up, and she's a young
living
woman.
with her parents.
Yeah, but she grew up. She's a young woman, and she went to live with her husband then, right? And so she's wondering. So she's hearing all these spiritual accomplishments and stuff, and I don't know how to relate to him. So she tries to put together this basket that's got fruit and flowers, and it's just this lovely thing, and she's bringing it to her husband, and he's looking at it, and he's going, well, that's very nice, but isn't it a little extravagant? And she bursts into tears. She's a young bride. She's trying to connect. Right?
Yeah.
She bursts into tears and runs out of the room, and Ramakrishna goes, and here's the thing to think about when you look on women. He said,
or husbands.
Or whatever, go get her, because if I offend the one that lives inside that person, there will be no hope for me in all the three worlds.
Yeah.
It's like there's a lot more going on here than we know.
So in our terms, we'd say he recognized the Christ in her.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But he met her on this level. Like, I do not want to give offense to this person. That's not going to be helpful.
Right. Yeah.
So back to the slaves. Transcending time.
Yeah, we're not a slave of time, and so how that comes out in the instructions for the review, and you might want to read this a few times over the next few days. We've got many days of review. It's really asking us to think these thoughts as much as possible. So first thing in the morning, toward the end of the day, 15 minutes minimum. Give that time. Every hour, in between the hours, in between the hourly practice where you might spend a minute. And then whenever something comes up that's upsetting, the name of God is my inheritance. I am not a body. I'm free. I'm still, as God created me, I'm still spirit. I'm still one with God. I'm still one with every living thing. That's my reality, not this little thing here.
That's right. So what you've just articulated is what Perry used to say about the structured workbook practice. So it's morning and evening, longer times, as much time as you can spend, but at least 15 minutes. And then throughout the day, it says use the idea as often as you can.
Yeah.
So I'm holding this idea in my mind. All things are lessons God would have me learn. It can be but myself. Like, whatever that idea is.
Whatever the idea for the day is.
Right. Yeah. So use the ideas. And then he said the hourly practices. And what he said in this lesson on forgiveness, he said each hour, so this is the hourly practice, each hour spend a little time today and in the days to come in practicing the lesson in forgiveness in the form for that day. And try to give application to the happenings of the hour that just went so that the next one is free of the one before.
Oh, that's great. I've
So-
forgotten about that part.
Every hourly look back. Give gratitude for the forgiveness that you did achieve in that hour. Look where there was more ingratitude, less forgiveness. Let that be healed in that moment, and then move on to the next hour.
Right.
And here's what he says about freeing yourself from the slavery of time. The chains of time are easily unloosened in this way. Let no 1 hour cast its shadow on the one that follows, and when that one goes, let everything that happened in its course go with it. Thus you will remain unbound in peace eternal in the world of time. Unbound in the world of time. I'm under no laws but God's.
Then we really see the world and our experience, in a sense, with 2 layers of eyes.
Yeah.
You know, those kind of fish that have eyes that look above the water and eyes that look down?
Really?
2 different worlds, right? Maybe I made it up. Maybe it's a frog. I forget. But it's like we see the world of spirit,
Yeah.
and we see the world of the body.
Physicality.
Yeah. And we know that this one here has no power over us. The power is within us, in spirit and in the oneness that we share with God and with everybody else.
And it has no power over us because, we started early. Remember?
Yeah.
And it has no power over me because I recognize the power of my thoughts.
Yeah.